Hi, this is Marcy at Woodmark. How's everyone doing?
Hi, so far I think it's just me. This is Kelly Johnson at Children's Healthcare in Atlanta.
Oh, hi, Kelly. How are you?
I'm good, Marcy. I have recently changed roles, so I'm more in stewardship now, so I'm switching over to this cohort.
Perfect. Hey, Kelly, are you Kelly?
Yes.
Okay.
And Marcy, this is Jacqueline Lindley.
Hi, Jacqueline. How are you?
Hi, thank you for sending that.
Yes. Sorry about not getting that to you sooner.
No, that's totally fine.
Okay, Jacqueline Lindley, and you are Colorado. I'm just updating our participants list so we've got your names on it. And Kelly, you said you are from Atlanta, right?
Atlanta, that's right.
Perfect.
Is there anything I need to do, or are you driving?
I'm going to drive.
Okay.
Go ahead and let me know when you want to switch screens. You know, if you need me to advance the slide, beforehand, then.
Okay.
If I'm not advancing and you need it advanced, let me know.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
And Marcy, y'all are going to be talking about grateful patient family today, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, great. That falls under my stewardship, so I'm going to kind of be doing a couple different cohorts if that's okay.
Perfect. That's totally
great.
fine.
Thank you for letting me jump in.
All right. So does everyone see the screen? Jacqueline and Kelly, can you see the slideshow?
Yep.
Perfect.
I'm just doing the audio.
Oh, okay. Kelly, are you able to log in on the computer at all?
I'm driving
Oh,
between meetings.
okay. So that's
I just
no.
have it on speaker.
That's all right. That's all right. Looks like we're going to have a pretty big group. I show that about 44 people have accepted the Outlook invite.
That means you guys picked the right topics.
Right? Test. Hi, Rana. Are you there?
I am.
All right. So we've got Rana from Woodmark on the line. Jacqueline Lindley from Colorado, who is going to be presenting, is on the line. And we've got Kelly Johnson from Atlanta.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
Marcy, may I ask you to make me a co-presenter?
Yes, thank you very much. And
Thank you.
I will be turning on the recording very soon.
It is already recording.
Oh, that's right. Okay, we're going to leave it. Oops. Make co-host. All right. All right. Hi there, Marlena. This is Marcy at the Woodmark Group.
Hi, I was like, I couldn't hear anything, and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? But it was on my other screen to select audio.
Hey, so since you're on the line a little bit early, I know you're really tech savvy, so if you want to pull up the participant list for the introductions and go down the list, you can, but I'm certainly happy to help with that.
Well, I was gonna do the candy thing.
Right. So what I'll do, because I'll have the list of folks, but we're expecting a big group. We might have to skip that.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe if like a few people wanted to say like I would start, and then if anybody else wants to share, then we can go on.
Yeah, I think it'll be important to at least go down the list and get names in hospital.
Okay.
And I can go down the list and say, you know, someone from, because the list sometimes just has phone numbers. So I'll say someone from the 206 area code, you know. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you will do that?
So yeah, so I'll let you kind of explain what we're doing with the introductions and that we're going to skip that intro question. I can let you know too if we don't have, I think it looks like there's going to be like 40 people on.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
No. Do you know, for some reason all my stuff isn't docking on the right-hand side. Do you know how to make it for like the participants list in the chat? It would usually like dock on the side for me. Now they're just floating. Do you know how to make that dock?
No. Rana, do you? Do you know what? Or is it just a matter of moving it to the, are you on two screens, Marlene?
Yeah, but normally though, it automatically like it shortens the presentation screen and it has that just easily on the side. So it's not, I think it's because the participant one is usually on the top and now it's on the side. So maybe that's why.
Marlena, is there a drop-down menu to the left of the word participants at the top of your participants list?
There, drop down.
Just a little down arrow?
No.
Okay, because I have the option to pop mine out. But
yeah, I don't see it. Oh well, never mind.
Okay, hang on. Let me see if. Yeah, that's funny. Now I popped it out. Now I don't know how to put it back.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. This is good learning.
So for those of you that have just hopped on, welcome. This is Marcy at the Woodmark Group. And we're just about 2 minutes away from the top of the hour. So we'll wait a couple minutes before we get started.
Hey, Marlena.
Yes.
There is a button at the bottom maybe that says more. Do you see that?
Yes.
If you click that, is merge to meeting window one of your choices?
No, I just have lots of icons. I can clap, I can do break. That's all I have.
All right. Well, we will troubleshoot this another time to make sure that this will work for you.
And for those of you that are just hopping on, welcome. This is Marcy at the Woodmark Group. We'll get started here in about a minute, maybe two, as we wait for folks to be able to join. All right, welcome everyone. This is Marcy at the Woodmark Group. Looks like we've got our co-chairs and our presenter on the line. Hi, Annie, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. We've got quite a few people kind of hopping on the line right now, so maybe we'll give an extra minute or so before we really get started.
Hi, this is Emily Klein with Texas Children's Hospital in Houston.
Hi, Emily. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. So Annie and Marlena, right now people are still just hopping on. We've got about, looks like 18 participants. We may have a lot more kind of coming in as we go, but I think we should get started.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Marcy.
Yeah.
Or was that Rona? Sorry.
That was Marcy.
Okay, great. And so, Marcy, you're moving the slides ahead? Is that right?
I am. Yep.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Well, welcome everybody. So this is Annie speaking. Annie out of Toronto. So I'm Associate Director of Leadership and Annual Giving at SickKids. And then Marlena is also on the call. I don't know, Marlena, if you want to jump in now as well, just introduce yourself.
Sure, yeah. Marlena Mason, I'm the manager of annual giving at Children's Mercy in Kansas City. Welcome, everybody.
Oh, and also, one thing we're going to be asking everybody who jumps in today is if you could tell us your favorite candy. So I will go ahead and start off. My favorite candy is actually a tie, and it's between those berry fruit gummies and Coke bottles. So there you have it. So we can keep going.
Coke bottles, that's old fashioned.
So our agenda, oh, go ahead.
Yep. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say our agenda for today is actually a couple of different topics. So first, I'm going to bring everybody through just some level setting, so our group norms and a little bit about what we'll cover today. We'll also go through introductions, which we've already done, so we can keep going on that. So we have Jacqueline Lindley from Children's Hospital Colorado Foundation. She's going to talk to us about Grateful Families Program, and then we're hoping as well that we'll have a great discussion, maybe some great questions coming out of that as well. And after that, so as I said, yeah, we'll have donor insights, questions and answers. And then for SickKids, we just recently conducted a survey across a huge amount of donors across all levels of lines of business. So major gifts, annual giving, kind of across everywhere. So I tried to pull out a couple of little insights that might be interesting for the group. So I've just shared, I think, but that's also later. Also, Hillary from Boston Children's just had a question to pose for the group around digital kiosks, and just kind of throwing it out there as to whether anyone has used them and what their experience has been. So we'll get into that. So for now, and we'll go ahead and get started on just the group norms. We wanted to do this just to start off the year. This is our first. We had a call in June, but that was right after the conference. So this is more just to get everybody started and to set some guidelines for the year. Obviously, we all there is respect. We'll just keep going along there. Also, whatever's on the call stays on the call. So you know, we all have. I bet you that. We all have, you know, lots of things that we're working on. So and some of that might be sensitive. So just asking everybody to keep anything that might be sensitive between us. Also, just being honest about what challenges we're having. I think we'll probably take the most out of this if we're all being honest about what's working, what's not working. Listening first to understand. So, and these aren't areas that I think we've had a problem with before. It's just more general guidelines around hearing people out before we're jumping in, because it is tough sometimes with a call where, you know, it's hard to know when you can jump in. And also being fully present. So I think we all struggle with this with webinar is temptation around with other projects that might be happening on your screen. So if we could try to be as present as possible. And also just please, like, we encourage everybody to jump in. You know, it is really hard to get everybody to chime in and to share their opinions, but it's really so much better, and it's such a stronger experience when we're all sharing our own experiences and asking questions. So I'd encourage everybody to do that. Also celebrating one another's successes. I know that's definitely been part of this group. I certainly feel that we're all very encouraging of each other, so I hope we continue that. And then also, if you could just remember, anytime you're making a comment, just to start with your name and which hospital you're calling from. And again, I think we're pretty good about this, but just if there's noise in the background, just remember to mute yourself so that it's not interrupting anybody talking. And from there, I will go ahead and pass it off to Marlena.
So thank you. So I know we did a little bit of introductions for just Annie and I, but since we do have quite a few people, I know that we like to go through and just confirm who's here and what hospital you're from. So if as Rana's going to run through that, or maybe Marcy, but if you could just say also what your favorite candy is. A few of you, you don't have to, but we thought it might be more fun. For me personally, I adore Kit Kats, any kind. If you want to send me any, if you have any from Japan, I'll take them. I love Kit Kats irrationally.
Thanks, Marlena. This is Marcy at Woodmark. I'm just going to go down the list of who I see on the line, and some of you just show up as phone numbers, so I might call out your area code. So Marcy at Woodmark, my favorite candy is probably, I would say, Twix. Let's pass it to Rana at Woodmark, since she's on the line as well.
Sure. This is Rana at Woodmark, and my favorite movie candies are Junior Mints and Hot Tamales.
Right, thank you. It looks like we've got Anna Maria on the line.
Children's Hospital, Orange County in California, and I like Kit Kat as well.
Fantastic. All right, and it looks like there's someone calling from Seattle Children's.
Yeah, Michael Lowry, Seattle Children's. My favorite candy is Reese's Peanut Butter Cups.
Great, thanks, Michael. I have someone that's listed as 123946. Maybe that's an employee number. If that's you, you can chime in. All right, I'm going to move on. Someone with the name of Hughes, that might be a last name. All right, Jacqueline, she's our presenter, so I'm going to actually pass it to her to tell us what hospital and her favorite candy.
Hi, it's Jacqueline Lindley, and I'm at Children's Hospital, Colorado, and my favorite candy is M&M.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jacqueline. How about Christina?
Hi, it's Christina and Melissa. We're from BC Children's Hospital, and favorite candies are Milk Duds and Sour Keys.
All right, great. How about Kay Wilson?
Oh, it's Kate Wilson from the Alberta Children's Hospital Foundation in Calgary, and my favorite is gummy bears.
All right, thanks, Kate. Elle Hansen.
Hi, this is Leslie Hansen from Children's Hospital Colorado Foundation, and I love Butterfingers.
Great, thanks, Leslie. All right, I've got someone who shows up as WAHLMR.
Hi, this is Michelle. I'm calling from Children's Hospital Pittsburgh, and my favorite candy is a grape Jolly Rancher.
Nice. Someone from the 323 area code.
Hi, this is Carrie Jeter, and I'm calling in from Children's Hospital Los Angeles, and my favorite candy is maybe sour gummies.
All right, thank you. Someone from the 513 area code.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
This is Brittany, Lori, and Julie from Cincinnati Children's, and we are big fans of her Butterfingers, Reese's Pieces, and Peeps.
Okay. All right. How about someone from the 952 area code?
This is Emily from Children's Minnesota, and I am a big fan of Kit Kat.
All right. Thank you, Emily. Amy Trapp. Amy's on mute. Amy, we'll come back to you to see if you're able to unmute yourself. How about Becky McCauley? And let's see, looks like Goranzik.
This is Melissa Goranzik from the Children's Hospital Philadelphia, and my favorite candy is Reese's Peanut Butter Cup.
All right, thank you. Mary. All right, we'll come back. Oh, Mary, are you on the line? All right, we'll come back to Mary. How about Serena? And Dee Fisher?
Hi, this is Donna Fisher at Riley Children's Foundation, and my favorite candy is anything with caramel.
All right. And I've got someone that comes up as E. John 3. If that's you,
that's me. This is Emily Santos from Seattle Children's.
Oh, okay.
And you'll see me pop off the webinar because I didn't realize Michael was on. I'm going to go watch with him in his office.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, Emily.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Okay. And that I've got M. Lauer. Is that Mike Lowry from Seattle?
It is. Yep.
Okay. All right. All right. Is there anyone on the line that didn't have a chance to introduce themselves?
Hi, this is Sandra Swam. I'm the manager of leadership giving here at SickKids Foundation, and my favorite candies are fuzzy peaches.
All right. Anyone else on the line?
Can you hear? This is Amy with St. Louis Children's.
Go
Can
ahead.
you hear me now?
We sure
okay.
can.
Great. Sorry about that. I thought I had unmuted. I was muted like everywhere. This is Julie and Amy from St. Louis Children's, and we like chewy candy, specifically Swedish fish.
Oh, okay, great. Anyone else?
This is Kelly Johnson from Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, and I'm going with Twizzlers.
All right, thanks, Kelly. I think there might have been one more person that.
Hi, this is Emily Klein with Texas Children's Hospital Houston, and I like those bags of mixed mini candy bars.
All right, all of them.
All of them.
Nice. All right, anyone else before we move on? Fantastic. We've got a great group here, so I'm going to pass it off to our presenter, which is Jacqueline Lindley.
Great, thank you. So I think you can go ahead and advance to the next slide. So thank you for having me today, and I'm very happy to be able to share what we are doing, the Family Giving Program, that's what we call it, at Children's Hospital Colorado Foundation. I will go through all of this, give you an overview of the program, show you a new and exciting thing that we are rolling out right now, let you know some of the results that we're seeing, and then answer any questions that I can answer. So you can go on to the next slide.
All right.
Okay. So our Family Giving Program began back in 2011 with really getting the buy-in of the hospital. And over the past 7 years, the program's had 2 directors, me and then my predecessor, Molly. And when I transitioned from the special events team back in 2015, we were at a point where we had the buy-in of leadership, and now we needed to do something with it. So over the past 3 years, we've moved from collateral.
Hi, sorry to interrupt you, Jacqueline.
That's okay.
Make sure if you're muting yourself if you've got any background noise or anyone talking. Thank you. Go ahead, Jacqueline.
Okay, no problem. So we've moved from simple collateral pieces in the hospital and rounding to more organized education sessions with physicians and regular meetings with the administrators for each section. So I am entirely dedicated to this program and everything that comes with it, which means managing those relationships with the physicians, partnering with others in the foundation, particularly our MARCOM team, and partnering with our philanthropy directors to marry the right donors to the right funding opportunities within the hospital. I know everyone is set up differently, but the way that we're set up, I am actually a non-revenue generating entity, meaning that I don't ever ask for money. I'm simply seen as a connector to the families. And what this has done is really made it easy to open doors with the physicians because they know that when they are talking about the foundation, they're handing them off to someone who is going to learn about their story, maybe isn't focused just on asking for a gift, but really letting the family lead that conversation. So they connect them to me, and then I connect them, me and my colleagues, to others within the foundation or within our association of volunteers or whatever makes the most sense for that family. Next slide, please. So what are we physically doing in this area? So we've done a lot of the same things that many of the shops have done, and we've tried traditional direct response letters from the foundation. We tried really unique pieces where we featured just the caregivers from different areas and tried sort of an honor your doctor approach. And none of these approaches from a direct mail standpoint really worked. We weren't getting anything back. So we changed our approach a little bit and started partnering directly with the caregivers. We identified 8 subspecialties within the hospital where philanthropic support was desperately needed and targeted those areas. We do have access to Epic, and so we utilized Epic to target these families. It was a little tricky because we aren't allowed to segment by diagnosis due to HIPAA, so we had to target these more specialty areas where we weren't necessarily segmenting by diagnosis, but we were drilling it down to a really specific area. So for example, we could target neuro-oncology because it's set up as a separate department in our Epic system, but we couldn't as easily target the leukemia families. Well, I can't tell you that this approach is generating millions of dollars. It is gaining some traction, and this continues to be a work in progress. And we'll talk a little bit more about the results in a little bit. With these targeted letters, we also started doing welcome emails to all families. And those emails have been really soft and basically thank the family for trusting us with their care and then suggest some of the additional ways they can get involved. Again, we'll talk about results of all this in a minute. Staying on the theme of the census, we began to approach census polls in a little bit different of a way. When we first started, the doctors were a little uneasy going through the list and everything else. But when I started going to them saying, hey, we're reaching out to these families anyway, they're receiving this welcome email from us, is there anything more you can tell me about them that would be helpful? The conversation started getting a little bit easier, and the physicians began thinking of more names that weren't in the census poll, and it started kind of getting their wheels turning. Some of the physicians really loved the idea of going through and strategizing family by family. So if there's anything that we've learned through all of this, is that we need to be really flexible and know that the same approach doesn't work for everyone. Like many other hospitals, we started doing more around Doctor's Day and Nurses Week and Pediatric Nurses Week. And each one consists of an email and social media post and asking people to make a donation in honor of their favorite doctors and nurses. And in exchange, we deliver the note from the family along with a token of appreciation for those team members. This past year, the doctors received a pin. The hospital did a whole thing around new pins and brand awareness and these little graphics. So we did a special Doctor's Day one, and it was really timely and popular. And for the past 2 years, we've delivered silk daisies to the nurses to play off of the Daisy Award. And then this next year, for Pediatric Nurses Week here in a couple weeks, we're actually partnering with our CNO to combine efforts to make Pediatric Nurses Week a bigger deal internally. So a note will go out from her to the nursing staff. We had a higher up member of the nursing staff pass away last year, and so there's a tie back to that because her birthday and actually the date of her passing is actually right around Nurses Week as well. And her family is really involved. So we're hoping that Pediatric Nurses Week is really successful, both in memory of Cindy and then with Pat's support as well. Our ambassador program falls within family giving. And while I could spend an entire half hour talking just about this program, I'll just give a quick overview. We choose 18 current and former patients across our 7-state region to become the face of the hospital and the foundation. And these patients allow us to tell their stories throughout the year to inspire giving and raise awareness for the hospital. They do a whole lot more, but like I said, we could go on and on about this for a really long time. And then finally, we just got Epic referrals in place. So this is really big news for us. We've been working on it for about 2 years, and we're really excited about it. We now have it set up so that if a doctor is sitting with a family who they think would be a good ambassador, or a family who we should be paying a little bit more attention to, they can submit an order to the foundation in Epic. This is brand new for us, and we're actually in the process of rolling all of this out right now. But I will share a video with all of you so you can see what we've put together as part of our training piece for the physicians. This is a really exciting thing, and I'm happy to answer questions on this too once we get done with it. So we want to make sure your computer sound is on, and if we want to play the video, we can do that.
So, Jacqueline, this is Marcy at Woodmark. We were testing this earlier, and it kind of takes a minute to go. So.
Okay.
And if it doesn't work, I have the link as backup. So.
So I'll talk a little bit about the video while we're waiting for it. The video is me. I didn't realize I was going to be in it when I proposed doing this. So the video is me, and then we pulled in our surgeon-in-chief, Duncan Wilcox, and then we also identified a grateful family that was kind of a perfect story. They were referred to us from a physician, really sweet young family, and said, "We're so thankful, we want to make a gift," said it outright, and it was a really smooth handoff to one of our philanthropy directors, who then continued to steward the family, and their friends and family, extended friends and family, then ended up giving. Grandparents gave, so it was this really sweet story where they gave what they could, but really their gratitude led to several other gifts and a longer relationship with them. So this is it.
We recently introduced a new feature in Epic that makes it easier to connect families who want to make a difference. You can now refer grateful families to the foundation the same way you would any other department in the hospital.
So our experience started early on as Harper was diagnosed about 12 hours after she was born with a couple kidney defects and abnormalities. I think what inspired us the most was, number one, the care we received here.
The relationship we had with our caregivers was so wonderful. It felt like they were part of our family. We mentioned that we were interested in supporting the hospital, and our doctor connected us to the Children's Hospital Colorado Foundation.
Some people are surprised to learn that many of our donors are in fact patient families. In 2017, patient families donated more than $11 million to Children's Hospital Colorado. Their support makes a tremendous difference to our mission, funding things like research and family support services.
Families will often use the ability to give back to the hospital as part of their healing process or as part of their celebration of being done with treatment.
This new Epic feature is an easy way to connect families who want to make a difference.
If a family expresses interest in supporting the hospital, thank them and then offer to connect them to your partners here at the foundation. To refer a family, simply click on Meds and Orders under the Plan activity. Using the drop-down, go to Orders Only activity under Patient Care, then search for Grateful. Click the link and fill out the form. You can also submit a referral to the foundation using the in-basket message. The way families give back is as unique as the care they receive. Our team will follow up with the family and help them choose the best way to get involved, whether that's attending an event, hosting a fundraiser, or making a gift. And we will always keep you in the loop so that you too can express your thanks to the family.
It feels so great to give back to an organization that helped our family and Harper so much.
Thank you. So I promise that when we show that to physicians, we don't all look like robots, in case the sound wasn't syncing for other people there. But that's our Epic video that we just produced. So our results, how is all of this working, all these efforts that we have going out right now? As I mentioned, those traditional direct response methods weren't working great for us, and neither were the non-traditional pieces. So we created a way to try and differentiate ourselves. Once we started partnering with the doctors, we saw a slight increase, but a lot of this actually relied on the doctors and their relationships with the families. Areas where the doctors were more involved in providing a list of those potential patient families saw more donations come in than those where we only were relying on the census information. In our most successful direct mail piece, we knew that many of the people on the list were giving to a national foundation that's focused on research for a particular diagnosis. So in our letter, we spoke to the fact that we are able to designate funds for that same research that's being done right here in their own backyard. And because that message was so specialized, we saw a greater response come from that group. This was also our smallest sample size. In my opinion, anything that we get back from these letters is really a win, and I think that we won a little bit with that one. The bigger thing to remember is that we're still talking to young families, and a lot of these families are really unsure of their financial future, and that often makes giving a little bit more challenging. So we're looking more at the long game with these families, which brings us around to our welcome emails. These see a really, really high open rate at almost 50%, but the click-through rate is falling at less than 1%, with around 800 people receiving the email monthly. So the open rate is great. We aren't seeing the follow-through until we started looking longer term. And when we did that, through August, we found that we had 60 new donors who had donated just under $5,500. While the percentage is still really small and the donation amount is still really small, it means that we're seeing a response to this introduction to the foundation. It's just not a response directly from that initial email that's going out. So it's good because it accomplishes the intent of the email, which is to introduce the families to the foundation and sort of create this inroad with them. It begins our relationship with these families. We also found that the ambassador program has been a lucrative initiative. Initially, we were concerned about asking ambassadors to fundraise, but the families have really embraced this, and it's proven to serve as a great introduction to philanthropy and the hospital. We utilize the ambassador program as a fundraising tool for some of our committees by asking them to rally around the ambassadors and essentially adopt their stories for the year and embrace their fundraising efforts. This is really great for these young families because we aren't necessarily asking them for a gift, we're just asking them to help us get gifts, which introduces us to new donors as well, which is fantastic. And most recently, we've seen a lot of team members at the hospital also embrace this ambassador program and start sending out pages on their behalf. Last year for the ambassadors, we set a goal of $18,000, hoping that each ambassador would raise $1,000. That year they raised collectively $23,000. And this year we set the same goal for the ambassador, but made an internal goal of $25,000 because I'm a competitive person and I needed to beat last year. And the ambassadors are blowing it out of the water, and they've raised more than $55,000 collectively so far this year, with 3 more months to go. We do have an outlier here with one of our ambassadors who has a far-reaching network, but even if you take Maya out of the mix, it's still been pretty amazing, and they've surpassed that goal that we've set for them. And then finally, results on EPIC referrals. So we'll really begin measuring this in 2019, since we just introduced this concept and it's currently being rolled out via a handout at EPIC training sessions and through our intranet and through our one-on-one education opportunities to departments. We really won't have a better sense of how well this is working until all of these little pieces about training and awareness and everything are in place. So I hope to be able to report great numbers in 2019 on the EPIC referrals. And we hope to see an increase in doctor to physician referrals through that. Next slide. So there we go. That's just a quick glimpse into our family giving program. I know everybody's a little bit different. I know that we're a little unique in that we have someone entirely dedicated to this effort, but I'm really hopeful that this has offered some insight into the program that we've created and continue to tweak to try and make it as successful as possible. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
I'd love to ask a question. This is Kelly Johnson from Atlanta. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
This is so amazing. Thank you for all these wonderful ideas that we would love to learn more about. Specifically, I wanted to ask about the ambassadors. How exactly are they raising those dollars? Can you give some, and again, I'm sorry, I'm just audio, and I don't have the slides in front of me, so it may be visual for everyone else, but I wasn't clear on exactly how they're raising those dollars.
Sure. So, sorry, I kind of like glanced through ambassadors pretty quick. The ambassadors, we have a Friends Asking Friends medium called Team Children's Colorado. Next year it'll be on our crowdfunding site instead, but we set up a individual fundraising page for them on Team Children's Colorado, and then turn over the page to them basically to customize, to add a picture, to do whatever they need to do to it. And we say to them, please send out your page to 10 friends and family or more on February 1st. That's just going to be our launch date for next year. So by February 1st, we'll have everyone onboarded. We'll have all the ambassador pages ready to go live, and everyone pushes it out on February 1st. And really that ambassador fundraising page just lives there for the year. So it allows us an opportunity to link back to that page should we have a social media post, or if they're featured on the news or something, they can say, you can visit my fundraising page, and we can provide the link if that's helpful. And then, like I said, our committees can send out the links to their fundraising page. So it's all done online, although every now and then we'll get a check mailed in for one of the ambassadors. And then some of them really take it to another level. And in the video, you will have seen the little lemonade stand. That's one of our ambassadors, Lillian, and she's run a couple lemonade stands this year out of her front yard to try and help her fundraising page along. So they do a lot of different things.
Great, thank you very much.
Sure.
Hi, this is Michelle from Pittsburgh. Regarding your ambassador program, how do you choose those ambassadors? Do patient families self-identify themselves, and then you go through a process to identify 18, or is that kind of seeded from your marketing department?
So the patients are normally nominated by the caregivers. We don't hide the link, so if families know where to find it, they can find it, but we don't advertise it out to families to self-identify. We just ran into some challenging situations. It's a little bit smoother of a process if we ask the caregivers to nominate a family, because they have a better idea of where the kids are in treatment. They have a better idea of the program and expectations, and if those patients would be able to go through that program and be okay with it and everything else. So this year we had about 60 nominations, and it's a long process, but we put together an ambassador nominating committee, and that's made up of me, a couple of people from our special events team to make sure their needs are met for ambassadors, and then a good portion of our Marcom team to make sure that all of their needs are met, so that they are identifying the stories that they want to feature over the course of the next year and getting everything that they need. And then we go through and just narrow it down based on what we have planned for the coming year, the number of events that we think are going to happen for each area, where each of the kids are from, because we want to make sure that we're representing across our state. Colorado's kind of big, so we want to make sure that we have good range there. And then really making sure that we're representing across all of our specialties as well. We don't want 18 heart patient kids. We need to have, 3 heart patient kids because of the number of events. And so it's a big puzzle to put together. We're actually in the process of doing it right now, and it's both the best thing and the worst thing about all of our jobs. We hate this time of year, but we love it at the same time.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
This is Melissa Goronzik with CHOP in Philadelphia. I was wondering, how are your philanthropy directors? I guess they might be equivalent to what we call here, like our major gift officers.
Mm-hmm.
How are they structured? Are they generalist, or do they have a clinical area that they work closely with?
So we have a couple who work closely with clinical areas just by nature of some of the donors in their portfolio, but we're not set up on a beat kind of system. Everyone is fundraising for everywhere in the hospital, or has the ability to fundraise for everywhere in the hospital.
So you sort of function, like, I guess I'm asking because here at CHOP, I think some of the feedback we've gotten is that, like, the clinicians or caregivers, they just want one point of contact. So do you provide that for the foundation?
Yes.
Okay. And then you filter to the philanthropy directors?
Correct. So I will go and meet with either the physicians or their executive directors. So basically the business administrator over each of the areas. I have regular meetings set up with them, and then I can filter down into the physicians when I need to. But they also know that they can filter anything up to their business admins, and that we meet regularly. And sometimes that's easier because they see them more often because their offices are next to each other. And then I will take any of that information, whether it's identifying families or funding opportunities or whatever it is, and bring it back to the foundation. Now, if it's identifying a family and we're trying to figure out which of our philanthropy directors or major gift officers will fit best with that family, I'll meet with our prospect development team, and we'll go through and say, these portfolios are really full right now, or there's a lot in this pipeline, so let's not give it to this person, let's give it to this person, or this personality fits better. So it's really kind of matchmaking.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
This is Marlena. I don't know if now might be a good time to move to the group conversation, I know we've been having a bunch of questions. We don't have to do this part because y'all have had great questions, but just to keep things moving along, if that makes sense, if there aren't any more questions, so that we can move forward to Annie's presentation, make sure we have time for everything. We just put together a few things just for people to think about, like if you were surprised to learn anything, or if you had any specific challenges in trying to execute your own Grateful Patient Family programming, things that might be useful for your program that you hadn't considered before, if that was something that we could briefly talk about. I know personally I thought it was interesting that, Jacqueline, you're non-revenue generating, and how did you get to that? Did you have to have like certain metrics to say it'll be stronger if we do it this way, and this is how we'll get more buy-in? How did you get to that decision?
So that was actually set up even before I came on board. So when Molly was on board, that was part of the job, was that it was non-revenue generating. At the same time, we track everybody who is coming in this year, who is a grateful family. We track all of our efforts from Nurses Day and Doctors Day and Pediatric Nurses Week. So we still track all of those things, and we still strive to make it better every single year and want our numbers to go up and up. But forward facing, I'm not actually the one who is responsible for asking for that gift. So anything that can be put back into my metrics as, this was a successful grateful family interaction, is this family came in, they said they wanted to do an event, and they did, and that event brought in $1,000. Well, that's $1,000 that can be attributed to grateful families. So it's kind of a wonky accounting system, I guess you could say. But that makes That makes the relationship with the caregivers a little bit easier, and it makes the handoffs a little bit easier.
Got it. Well, if everybody thinks that, I mean, if you've had your questions answered, we can move ahead to Annie's presentation. So if you don't have anything else, or if there's something for offline, if y'all are good, I think we can move ahead.
Great. Oh, there's me.
Sorry.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. Thank you. So again, as I said earlier, I'm over at SickKids, and so we only have about 2 minutes left. So this will actually be very somewhat brief. I wanted to talk to everyone about this SERP that we do annually, and we just got the results back a few months ago from our latest survey, and I thought there might be some interesting nuggets of information for everybody. This is a survey that we do. So this year when we did it, there were, I think, about 2,000 respondents. It was across the whole country. And these are SickKids donors or last SickKids donors. So while the questions are specific to donors who are from SickKids, I tried to pull out insights that were more general in nature that everybody might glean some insight from. And I also pulled out the questions that were specific to annual giving, rather than pulling out insights about major gifts and other areas like that. So we can move on to the next slide. These are my favorite things that I referenced earlier, the berries and the cola bottles. And an interesting insight that Sandra and I noticed is that I don't think, I could be wrong, but in Canada, I don't think we ever would call a chocolate bar a candy. And we heard a lot of chocolate bars as candy. So we thought that was just an interesting US-Canada difference that we picked up while I'm talking about insights and survey results. Anyway, we can keep going. We can keep going again. So I think I covered most of this already, actually. But what I've said here is, what I'm going to show you is really just trying to pull out some of the interesting kernels from donor motivations and behaviors. But this, when we sat through the results initially, it was about an hour and a half, and that wasn't even all of the insights. So really just, I'm pulling out a couple of interesting nuggets for the group today. And if anybody has questions, feel free to reach out to me later. But we can go on to the next slide. I think I've covered all this. So just one of the questions that I thought everybody might be interested in, because the question is specific to SickKids, I think could apply really to most of us, is what is your main reason for donating to SickKids? So the donors were able to answer any of these questions, and they could answer more than one. But about half the audience had a personal connection to the cause, so that's obviously very important. Also, the third one down there, it's a cause I'm passionate about, I thought was also a little bit related to that first personal connection to the cause. About a quarter of people said that they just believe children deserve a chance to live a healthy life. Hospital reputation was also quite important. So that's world-class, amazing care and staff, leading care research. What was lower on the list, which might have actually been covered by another category, but is I'm a parent and have healthy children. I think probably a lot of the people that answered it are probably parents with healthy children. So it's just that wasn't the #1 reason that popped up. And then interestingly was just that only 1% of people said that the organization was proactive. So a lot of these people already feel strongly about SickKids. They didn't feel pressured that they had to give, or they weren't entirely motivated just by being asked. So we thought that was interesting. We can move on, and I pulled out some insights in the next slide. So what we took from this and what we apply with some of the materials that we developed is, one is we need to really find ways to demonstrate impact based on what those survey responses are. So we're always trying to show how the hospital is able to save or change children's lives. And we find, and I think this is similar with a lot of us, is that people really respond to patient stories, and hearing about one particular story and how that child was impacted, but also reinforcing that with some stats. Similarly with the hospital and showing that it's world-class is including stats. So on the right-hand side, this is just from a recent campaign we deployed, but the main focus of this piece, it was a DM piece, was all about a patient story. But what we did as well is, because we know some people are motivated more by, showing stats to demonstrate how the hospital is a leader, is we included a few different things. The first, number 8, is just about, we have a classroom for children with epilepsy that aren't able to be in a regular classroom. The next one is just more about just some of the work in our neurology department. But
that was just something that we know that not everybody responds to that, but we try to include little factoids like that. So that's something that we've done as a direct result of what we've learned in the survey. Also identifying ways to leverage that personal connection. So I think Grateful Families, what we just talked about, is a really great way of really trying to leverage that, the fact that we know that personal connection makes an impact. But also something else we found a lot of success with is featuring local patients. So while there's not necessarily a direct personal connection, if people feel like people in my neighborhood are being helped by this hospital or being impacted, we find that makes a difference. So an example that some of you might have seen at Woodmark is we call it City Blitz, where we do just a hyper-focused campaign on a city. And so through every channel, so whether that's TV, radio, direct mail, everything, we kind of blitz that city, but the focus of that campaign is on children that are from that area that are treated at SickKids. So anyway, that's just pulling out some insights we got from that question. We can move on to the next. So what motivates you to give to a charity? So with this, and on the next slide, I'm going to show you a lot of different reasons why people give to a charity. And I've actually said that we gave the donors 4 options. Just to clarify that, we actually went through a series of questions about what motivates people to give to a charity. And the company that worked on this with us, they're called Strategic Navigator. What they did is they then categorized and analyzed all those answers, and they lumped them up into 4 main groups, which I'm going to show you in the next slide, but I just wanted to give everybody a bit of insight. So one is cost of entry. So let's say it's that the hospital has a strong reputation. Some donors or some people might think that's just table stakes, that's cost of entry. So they could be categorized as cost of entry. We also looked at what are key drivers, so things that the donor actually said was important, and based on other answers we can see is important to them. There's also hidden drivers, so the donors might not have specified that something is important to them, but based on the way they've answered and the trending we saw in their responses, we see that it is actually an influencer to their decision to donate to a given charity. And then lastly was limited influence. So a donor didn't specify this something as important, and we also didn't pull that out from insights as something that's important. So this will make sense when we go to the next slide, if you want to just move along. So here I've got on the left-hand side is all the different things that we've asked the donors about. Does this motivate you to give to a charity? In the 2008 column, that's how they answered this year. And then I thought it was also interesting to put up the results from 2014, because we can see that there's actually been a lot of change in how the donors have responded. So what we see in the top section, so all the key drivers, that's the top, I think it's the top 6 responses. These are areas that the donor indicated, these are really important motivators for me to give to a charity. They give me confidence that the money is going to the right place, the charity has a great reputation, they're making a meaningful contribution. So these are all 6 of these areas, they're all key drivers that we know are really important, and the donor is actually saying that as well. It's interesting if you look at 2014, some of these things weren't always key drivers. So 4 years ago, having an excellent reputation was actually just the cost of entry. And for some reason that has shifted. So I think some of those are interesting. I think it's hard to cover all these in such a quick period of time, but I think everybody will have access to this presentation, so you could probably spend a bit more time drilling into these. Also, as you go down, we can see what are the hidden drivers. So people didn't actually state these as being things that motivate them to give to a charity, but based on their answers, when Strategic Navigator analyzed the results, they actually could see that these are influencers. So making them feel connected to the people that they're helping, that's important, and that's something that we need to factor in when we're speaking to them, even if they're not stating it. Any questions on, this is a bit of a busy one, so any questions so far? Okay.
This is Amy with St. Louis Children's. What does it mean, cost of entry? What is it? Can you give an example of like how someone would answer that?
Sure, yeah. So this is kind of like table stakes. So if the organization is easy to donate to, that is just an expectation. And I think this comes along with sort of the digital age has been around now for a really long time. I think as consumers, we have just basic expectations. Like if I'm giving to a charity, I expect that I can give in the way that's most convenient to me. So that's going on their website, having a very easy funnel of how I actually put my information in and give to that charity. So people are looking at this as, oh, this isn't a great thing. This is just expected. Like I expect that they're easy to donate to if I'm entering their donation funnel. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just wasn't sure why, if the cost of entry is that it's an expectation then? It's just that's the cost of doing business?
Yeah, like to even consider giving to this charity, that's something that I expect.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so we can keep going. So another question, and I don't think I mentioned earlier, but we also separated our results into monthly donors versus OTG, which is one-time gift donor, because that's a big focus for us at SickKids is our monthly donors. So we separated them for all the questions as well. But what is the best vehicle to demonstrate impact of support? So pretty consistent across both monthly and one-time gift donors. Email was really definitely a clear leader as far as how we can demonstrate impact. A little bit higher on the monthly side, and that might be just because these people are more invested. I mean, they're giving on a monthly basis, so they probably want to stay a little bit closer to what's happening at the hospital. But otherwise, it was pretty consistent across both groups. Next in line was online video or TV commercial, and that's a big one for us that we find as well. So when our brand team, so all of our TV and radio is managed by our larger brand team versus our annual giving team that's doing direct response type of tactics like direct mail and email. But we notice a very clear difference when our brand campaign is active in market. There's definitely a halo effect that we see the results of campaigns are much stronger when there's a larger campaign happening with out of home and TV and radio. But other than that, I think this is all pretty self-explanatory. So we can keep going. And now this next slide, again, it's quite busy and we only have about 8 minutes left, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. But what this is looking at is across both monthly and one-time gift donors, we've separated it into different age groups. And I think this is, at least for us, very important because we're trying to figure out different groups of people and how we reach them. So obviously, one hot topic is millennials and how do we reach millennials and how do we engage them? So we've separated it into age group here. And on the left-hand side, these are all different factors that a donor would consider when they're deciding whether or not to give to an organization. And this question was more specific in general to nonprofit as opposed to SickKids specifically. And where you can see the red circles, that's where we've seen that one specific age group is noticeably different than the rest of the age group. So in the first example, is making a meaningful contribution is really important, it appears, for millennials in the monthly segment. So, I mean, for this slide, for me to really understand it, I spent a bit of time looking at it, so I would encourage everybody to do that. But what we can also see is that the millennials in the monthly group and also in the one-time gift group really jump out in a few specific areas. What I took from it, just at a really high level, is that they really need to feel connected to the cause, and they need to really feel like they're making a difference and that what they're doing is meaningful, more so than what we saw with other groups as well. And where we see the green squares is where we've noticed that certain groups are they score much lower than other groups. So looking at the show specific examples of what a donation will be able to achieve, it scored very high with the monthly millennials, and it actually scored quite low with the over 55 people who give one-time gifts. So there's a lot to dig into this, and I think we could spend, half an hour just talking about this slide. But I thought there were just some interesting kernels that the whole group might find interesting, especially as you're doing some of your annual planning. So I've included it here, but as I said, if you want to talk specifically about this or have more questions, we'd be happy to talk to anybody at a later time. We just don't have the luxury of time to go through in great detail. So we can keep going. This is actually about lapsed donors and asking why they stopped giving. This is something that we're all trying to figure out. How do we get more information about how to prevent these donors from lapsing? What wasn't surprising at all was that people are citing either change in the financial situation or I'm no longer able to afford it as the top answer. Poor donor experience was 10%. I think that's always going to happen as well as part of someone's reason for lapsing. Sometimes it's about supporting another charity or moving to another province or state in the case of the US. But really, we pretty consistently have been hearing that it's about money when people are lapsing. And you can keep going. So that was it from this survey. Any specific questions about that before we move on to digital kiosks? Okay. So this was, I know we only have about 5 minutes left. So if we need to take this particular question offline later, we can. But just off the bat, Hillary Smiley from Boston Children's, they've been talking about kiosks and whether they're effective. So these are, in most cases, from what I see, they're digital kiosks that are at various places. So sometimes they might be in the hospital, sometimes they might be at a mall or at an airport, asking people to donate. So she was looking, and just given the time, we might even want to schedule this for a different discussion, but just looking for any feedback on other foundations who have used these and what their results or what their success has been. Anyone have any experience? So even speaking for SickKids, we have 2 digital kiosks that we've been using. One lives at the hospital and one has traveled around a little bit. We had it at Union Station, which is our kind of our train / main subway station. We found it where people are in transit and trying to get somewhere, we haven't found it to be very lucrative. The one that lives in the hospital has had more success, but they're very expensive to purchase, and there's quite a lot of work to maintain because you've got to consistently update the patient stories and the investment required there. So we've found it. We're still trying to figure out how to make it work, but that's our experience. Has anybody else used these? So it sounds like not a lot of shops are using kiosks. We are nearing the end of the call, so we can keep going and wrap it up. But if anybody does have any insight into this, I would encourage you just to give Hillary a call because they're trying to just gather some insight into this. So Marcy, did you want to talk a little bit about the Woodmark Exchange?
I'm actually going to pass it to Rana to give us an update.
Okay.
Thanks, Marcy. Thanks, Annie. That was really interesting, and I have a list of questions for you for later. I wanted to talk to you guys briefly about the new and improved Woodmark Exchange, which is launching next week. Our goal in designing this was to make it very simple for you to get into WE and find who or what you're looking for quickly and intuitively so that you can get the knowledge you need when you need it. And so you're going to be receiving an email inviting you to register early next week. And we hope that you will jump in soon and help get the conversations going. One of the great features of this new platform is that once you have a profile in WE, then you will receive notifications in your inbox and you can answer any questions from your inbox. So you don't actually have to go into the platform to participate in the discussions, which we found to be a great feature. It also syncs really well as far as calendar items. So when you're RSVPing for your cohort calls, just one click will save the event in your calendar, so you have all the information you need right there, right away. So keep an eye out. We'll be sending you an email directly, or you'll get something from your senior associate. And if you have any questions about WE, you can reach me at ronap@thewoodmarkgroup.org or on the WE platform. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, and then in our last 30 seconds, just wanted to let you know that we moved our next call to January. Normally year-end is a busy time for all of us. So instead of it being in December, we were hoping we could just push it back a little bit to January, and then we can have a little bit of year-end discussion, successes, and things like that. So hopefully that works for everybody. But then our next one will follow in March. So that is everything. Thank you so much to everybody who attended today. Thank you so much to Jacqueline for presenting. That was a fantastic presentation, and I know that I gained a lot from that, so I hope everyone did too. And we will talk to you next time. Have a good year end.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Great call.